boxing, standing still is a liability, but moving can be dangerous too. Every step, slip, or twist can put you on the firing line, or worse, move you into an incoming punch, creating a dangerous collision effect.
That is what I call the collision punch. The collision punch. You know, if fighters move this way, you throw the punch into them.
Good fighters are always looking to create collisions, so you need ways to stop them. One of my favorite ways is to use what I call crossing guards. Yes, crossing guards, like those kind old folks in your community who walk out into traffic with reflective vests and stop signs to help kids cross the street. Obviously, this is a metaphor, but I think it's an instructive one that makes plain the whole idea of proactive defense, so beginners and boxing lay people can better understand when, how, and why we use certain long guard tools. So let's dive in. You haven't heard this term before because I made it up, but it's a useful shorthand that I use to refer to a specific long guard package that includes 3 types of proactive hands-out defense: crowding, tapping, and trapping. As you'll see, to varying degrees, these techniques all involve reaching the arm out to stop punches like you're holding up a stop sign, which, along with all the talk of lane control, traffic, and stopping collisions, is why the crossing guard metaphor works for me. In short, your glove is like your stop sign, and you hold it up in the opponent's punch lane anytime you need to cross the street. And that's most of the time. In boxing, we're constantly moving down or across the opponent's punch lanes, which means we are constantly risking collisions. We do it anytime we step forward, left, or right.
Moving in, trying to get the inside.
And we do it anytime we move our head with slips and punches.
You're coming straight with a jab, wow, boom. You're coming into me, so the collision punch is the straight right hand, see? So it doesn't matter if it's forward, backwards, or side to side, it's all about that collision.
To make these moves with confidence, we need ways to control punch lanes, to halt traffic, and to keep our opponent's hands parked. We need crossing guards. Like the centerline theory, crossing guards will improve many aspects of your game at once. Not only are they the direct counter to collision punches, but once you get the basic idea and you drill some of the options covered here, they'll also help you set up power punches without trading, take strong angles, manage energy, escape bad positions, buy time, handcuff high guard defenses, and just generally control the fight. Here's 3 ways to control punch lanes you need to cross. Number 1, crowd the hand and cover the lane. Before you make your move, reach for the hand you're moving into, positioning your glove or forearm to block the punch lane you need to cross. If you've already watched the long guard series, you'll know this as defensive traffic, the cornerstone of the long guard system. Of the 3 types of crossing guard techniques we're going to discuss, this one requires the least amount of energy and commitment. You don't have to be up close or even in range, and you only have to extend your arm part way out. Both hands are free to punch, and you can still move your head and feet any way you please. On the other hand, of the 3 crossing guards, defensive traffic is the least controlling because you can't cover all punch lanes at the same time. If you hold your hand to cover the cross lane, for example, you leave the overhand lane open, and vice versa. You can't cover both levels either. In other words, this crossing guard is only covering one lane on a multi-lane highway. You can manage this risk by learning where you're open and developing your active defense, but just know that it's not foolproof. This brings us to the other main drawback, which is that defensive traffic takes time to develop and skill to use. It's really not as easy as holding the hand out, not at first. In order to use it effectively, you need to drill active defense from your traffic positions until they're instinctive, which is what the long guard system is all about. If the opponent tries to punch through, you need to be prepared to block, parry, or deflect. If they try to punch over, you lift or flip. If they try to punch under, you drop or post and shove with a hollow body. Developing these active defenses takes time, but it is essential. If you aren't comfortable defending with your arm held out, don't do this. Use one of the other 2 crossing guards to control punch lanes. Here's 4 things to keep in mind when drilling this technique. Number 1, make your stop sign as big as possible. Aim for maximum obstruction. Open the glove as wide as you can and try to use the whole arm. Sometimes, instead of reaching all the way out, it's better to keep the elbow pinned in and stacked under the hand. You give up some lane control, but you get a bigger shield and a strong parry position to work from. Number 2, practice covering all different punch lanes. And more importantly, while drilling or sparring or fighting, always know what lane you have closed. For example, if I want to stop a straight punch, my hand needs to be directly in front of theirs or else on their center line. If I want to stop a hook or overhand, my hand needs to be held up and out to the side, blocking the looping lane of that punch. You need to develop and rep out all of these different options and the transitions between them. Number 3, keep your hand or forearm in the way at all times, from the moment it leaves your face until the moment it's back to your closed guard. Number 4, don't forget the L guard. You can hold the forearm horizontally to cover both straight punch lanes at once. The hand covers one, the elbow covers the other. From here, the forearm can also be used as a powerful parrying tool. You won't be able to punch with that arm without some serious repositioning, but it can be a good trade, especially in close where the forearm can be used to brace, bulldoze, and chicken wing for space.
That jab will be effective even if it's just touching those gloves.
You gotta mix it up, okay? You gotta poke them, you gotta tap them, you gotta knock them.
Tapping shots like these work great to set up power punches, and with proper timing and targeting, they make great crossing guards too. The idea is very simple. Target the hand you're moving towards with light, snappy punches to keep it busy while you cross that lane. Note, light does not mean pawing and slow. Speed is important to sell the threat and minimize your opening. As discussed in more detail in our defensive pairs video, punching the hand is a powerful proactive defense. Hands are easy to hit, being held out in front of the head, and good opponents will help you out with their good defense. Whether you hit the hand or they take initiative with a block, catch, or parry, you'll have stopped that hand from punching for a split second and prevented a collision while you made your move. You can also punch the elbow to get the same results. So, for example, in an orthodox versus orthodox matchup, I can tap the right hand to keep it parked anytime I want to throw my own, or step left into the path of that punch. Compared to defensive traffic, tapping the glove takes more commitment, but it also gives you more control, as it stops all punches from that side instead of closing one lane on a multi-lane highway. For as long as the opponent's hand is defending or being hit, that hand is out of play. It might just be for a second, but that's enough to make your move. As with all the techniques covered today, this works on both hands, at all ranges, and in any stance matchup. Just punch the hand you're moving into. It's that simple. It's worth mentioning that punching the hand works particularly well against long guard fighters, as discussed in the Benavidez video, as well as high guard fighters whose stationary hands are very hittable. But tapping isn't foolproof either. Low commitment punches don't take much to defend, and some fighters excel at quick same side counters off blocks and catches. So be quick and be careful. I think the best tip I can give you here is to not commit. If you don't commit, you give them very little to counter. So don't try to hit hard. Instead, think about bouncing your hand off of theirs so it snaps back even faster than it shot out. As with all of these techniques, partner drills and sparring are going to be ideal for development, but you can still practice this on the heavy bag or even while shadowboxing. Just make sure that you're imagining and targeting the hand that you're moving towards in a realistic way. Number 3, trap the hand to keep it parked. Using the knuckles, forearm, or the palm of the heel, stab the hand you're moving towards to pin it in place. This final crossing guard option, known as hand trapping, is a bit more heavy duty, more like a roadblock than a stop sign. Of the 3, trapping is the biggest commitment by far, as you have to reach all the way out, and unlike with a tap, you leave it out. But it's also the most reliable, the most controlling, as it's extremely difficult to throw any punch when someone is holding your hand in place. Even if the opponent does shake your hand, you will have huge advance notice, and their punch will have to take a detour to reach you, so it's easy to avoid. Hand trapping can also keep you in control on the move, as long as you're willing to be a bit of a bully. Anytime you're touching their hand or forearm or elbow, you can push or pull yourself from that point of contact, shoving or yanking your opponent off balance as you propel yourself into a step left or right. Like all crossing guards, trapping is also extremely effective against a static high guard defense. Anytime your opponent hides behind a static high guard, they've surrendered control of punch lanes. So you get to skip the hand fight altogether. You also won't have to go hunting for their hands, as they're already being held in the perfect pinning position. In fact, this was one of Davis's keys to success against Ryan Garcia. When Garcia idled behind his high guard, Davis pinned his left hand in place. This let him change head slots with big power lefts without having to worry about colliding with Garcia's dangerous left hook.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
So that's pretty much the gist of it. If you're tired of walking into collision punches, use one of these 3 crossing guards to obstruct, occupy, or trap the hand you need to move towards. In doing so, you make it much safer to twist your head and shoulders into power punches, step offline, change head positions, move in and out of range, find dominant angles, escape the ropes or the corner, and so much more. I'd also recommend throwing out crossing guards even when you don't intend to move behind them. This will give you a high control, low energy option to use between bouts of intense movement and punching. This will also make your commitments harder to predict, since your opponent won't know movement is coming anytime your hand goes for theirs. We're almost done, but there is one more important thing that needs to be said. These crossing guard techniques are not your only options for punch lane control. There are many other ways to cover your movement and prevent collision punches, like feints and blinds. However, unlike the crossing guards covered here, they don't provide any actual coverage or lane control, so they're not as reliable. Feints imply danger and they can freeze your opponent, but like a red light at an intersection, reckless drivers can still ignore them. And while blinds will stop the attacker from aiming, they don't stop the punches from coming. For these reasons, I recommend sticking with the crossing guard package covered here as the base of your proactive defense and lane control game. We can't forget about parries either. Anytime you're parrying a punch, you are in control of that punch lane, and you're free to cross it. But this list of crossing guard techniques is all about things we can do to stop the opponent's punches before they start. Anyway, that's all for now. I hope this video helps and that you incorporate these proactive hands-out techniques to stop collision punches and stay safe on the move. Call them whatever you want. The concept is undeniable, and these techniques are definitely worthy of a place in your arsenal. Thanks again for watching, and as always, stay safe, study hard, and train smart.